All right, so today we're going to be looking at expository nonfiction books. And this is a 5-day, I guess you could say, mini unit or study that we're doing. And so this is day 1 of that study. So we're going to start with definitions, and then we're going to move into like an activity. So what is expository nonfiction? What do you think so far? We'll go from there, and then we'll move on to definitions. Zoe?
Nonfiction is stuff that's true.
Yep, so nonfiction is stuff that's true. There we go, we're breaking it down. Anyone want to take a shot at expository before we start doing some definitions? Wesley?
Expository, in my opinion, it kind of means like shine right through so you can see like the core.
Okay. All right. So looking at some definitions. So expository is intended to explain or describe something. Nonfiction is based on real events and real people. Okay? So based on that, breaking down of words, what do you think the definition would be for expository nonfiction? So the two words together. So we know what the definition is for both of them independently of each other. Expository is intended to explain or describe something. Nonfiction is based on real events and real people. So what is expository nonfiction? What do we think? We put the two together. What would that be? Bracken? Okay, so maybe a math book would be an example of what expository nonfiction would be. Sure, that could be the case. London. Okay, maybe a fact-finding book. Sure, Zoe.
Something that's like, it's something that tells the truth about another thing. So if expository explains something and nonfiction is like real events or real people, then it's going to explain stuff about those things.
Okay, so expository nonfiction, we are assuming that is explaining about real events and real people. Maybe that's what expository nonfiction is together. So I'll try to find a spot to do that. So explain things about real people or events. Okay. So that's going to be our little definition for expository nonfiction. We'll look at the actual definition, I believe, tomorrow. So for right now, that is our working definition based on what we see here. So we have an activity. So we're going to take a few minutes to look through the books that are given to you. Instead, I'm not going to actually give it to you. I'm going to have you guys pick. So we're going to switch that up a little bit. Then turn and talk with your group about ways all the books are alike. So we're looking for comparisons here. Particularly, I haven't gotten to that part yet. Particularly similarities between these books. So you're going to take note of the different things that you always see and the things that you often see. And you're going to write these things on chart paper that is given to you. We're not going to have actual chart paper. We're going to use our notebooks. So we'll put it in the mini lesson response area. We'll just write down in there. Saving paper, since we have all of that right there. So your groups are going to be your table partners, but I have a couple Lone Rangers today, so we're going to have them merge with some other tables. So I'll have Zoe merge with Lila and Brecken, and then Emmett, you'll merge with London and Micah, okay? and that will have a total of 4 groups, all right? So what's going to happen here, and listen carefully, when I say go, you're going to come up and you're going to grab, say, 1 book from each of these categories. These 2 are the same category. Just grab 1 book from each stack here, and then 1 from here. And you're going to take those 3 books back to your group, and you're going to look through them. You're not reading the whole book. You're just looking to see what you always see and what you often see. So you're skimming. You're going very quickly through them. You're looking for text features, mostly, is what you're looking for. So you're going to be going through these books trying to find things that are common or things that you often or always see. And then you're going to write them down. So when I say go, there's going to be a lot of moving. You're going to be moving over here, grabbing 1 book from each of these. You're going to be going over to your bin, grabbing your notebook, making sure you have a pencil, and then you're going to be huddling with your group and sorting through these books for a few minutes. Does everybody understand? Yes, Brandon? I'll just keep it the way that I started with, and we'll just leave it like that, okay? All right. You guys can go ahead and start. Two informational, 1 biography. That's what we're doing. Okay, you should have your books by now. It's for the, you only need 3 for your group. You don't need 9 books. You only need 3. Okay, so your chart should look something like this up on the board. We're going to be sharing what we find at the end of the activity. So your chart should look something like this. You'll maybe put a line in between, and you'll put your always on one side, your often on another side. Working with Kylie, your table partner.
Oh, I thought we were doing it.
Yep, each table, except I took the 2 that were Lone Rangers and moved them over to different tables. So just go ahead and work through. It's only for a couple minutes. Okay, you should have at least a couple things written down by now. Except this is talking about stars and stuff, planets, instead of viruses. Remember, we're thinking about text features here. Sure, there's words, but there's different kinds of words, right? We've got words that are technically titles. You've got words that describe pictures. What are those called? You've got all kinds of different words that you use here. You're going to join in with Daniel and Kylie here, okay? So just get your notebook real quick. And you're just going to write down some quick things that are similar. So Daniel, we need to start moving, but even looking through books, just try to pick one book, and we're already about probably halfway through our time. Yeah, this is not a all reading time activity. This is just a quick activity. Okay, one more minute, and then we have to head back to our seats. All right, back to your seats, please. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk about what do we always see, what do we often see when we're looking through expository texts. So as we go through these texts, what do we often see? Or let's go with always. But we'll try to open it up to both categories, but we'll focus mostly on always for right now. So what do we always see in a nonfiction expository text? Micah?
Or
Okay, we're going to need to think a little bit more detailed than that, but you are right, there is that, but what is a little bit more detailed than just that? Emmett?
Quite a few pictures to help explain stuff.
All right, so they always have pictures. What else do they always have, Brendan? So they have titles, okay? So they always have a title. What else do nonfiction expository texts always have? Tate?
They always have really big text size.
Big text size? Okay, not all of the text is big, but certain parts are big. What do we call those parts? And they're not always in every single one, but they are often. What do we call those, Tate?
The thing is that the text size is actually just really big on this.
Okay, can you point to me, there's a few different things on that
Bold.
page. Yeah, there's got bold. I'm going to put that in the often. So we often see boldened words. So we often see boldened words. What else do we often see focusing on the text? Often or always? London?
We often see text boxes.
Okay, so we often see text boxes. What do we call that text that describes a picture or some other image that's on the book? Micah?
Sometimes the
Headings, okay. So I'll put that there. We often see headings. Headings are a little bit different than titles, right? They usually come like at the beginning before they're about to talk about something. So like for example, pull up, take that book that you have, Tate, and show me that picture, that page you have. So if you look at the top left of that page, we have landmarks. That is a heading. That gives me a hint that, oh, what I'm about to read from this point forward is probably about landmarks. So that gives me a hint of what's going to happen next. That's what a heading is. So headings. What else, Daniel?
They always indent.
Okay, that's true. There's indentation. Wesley?
It is always information.
Yeah, that is always has information. That's for sure. Okay, thinking beyond that, is there any other things that there's always or often? I can think of quite a few other things. Zoe?
I think when they're in often, there can sometimes be drawn pictures, but under, like, I guess, sometimes in nonfiction or informational, they will real pictures.
So, illustrations, and then you'll often see photographs. So this kind of ties in with over here. Emmett said you always see pictures. That's true. Usually you always see pictures in an expository nonfiction text. But what kind of pictures they are, like illustrations or photographs, you will often see. It depends on the author, the person who wrote the book, what they prefer to put into that text. Okay?
Page number?
Okay, so you're always going to see a page number, sure. I mean, I guess that counts. What about a table of contents? That's always there.
Unless it's like a really small book that doesn't need one.
Yep, but even small ones a lot of times have them as well. Even like really short 20-page books have a table of contents. Eileen?
A glossary?
Yeah, so we're always going to have a glossary. The glossary is important because it tells you definitions to words. So, an interesting thing about nonfiction texts is they often will use some sort of set of words that you don't always see every single day. So because of that, nonfiction texts have to have glossaries so that people who are reading the book and run into words that they've never recognized for the first time can at least go back and understand what that word is instead of reading the book and then leaving the book saying, I have no clue what was even talking about in that book. I have no clue. Because that's not what they want. Zoe?
Index.
An index, yeah. That kind of ties in with the glossary in a way. They have similar ideas. They just don't give you definitions in the index, but they help you find thoughts and ideas throughout the book. London? Okay. So there we could argue that maybe these things go in the often side. Maybe it goes over there. Bracken?
There's always, actually I would put there
Okay, so we often have some sort of title, sure. Text features. Think of text features here. Marcos?
Different. Often books have different fonts and font.
Okay, so different font. That kind of fits in with the bold, right? The bold words, or some words being in italics, and that sort of thing. Some words being bigger than others to draw your attention to them. Some words sometimes are highlighted. So yeah, different fonts. Captions, guys. What about captions?
What's a caption?
So a caption is those little words that are usually put underneath a picture that describes what's going on in the picture. That's what a caption is. So any words next to pictures describing those pictures, we call that a caption. You will often see those in books. You won't always see them, but you'll often see them. Anything else before moving on? Zoe?
I think this would be an often. You don't tend to see people talking in a nonfiction book, I guess, unless it's like a quote.
Okay, so not many quotes, but there are some. Okay, so maybe there are quotes in the book, potentially. Anything else? London. Yeah, so photographs, right? Yeah, so sometimes they have photographs in there instead of illustrations because they want you to see the real thing, right? Another thing that fits in with the pictures idea is graphs. Some of yours might have informational graphs. We call those infographics. And they might have like measurements next to things. Like for example, Daniel has a book about pyramids. There might be an infograph showing like how tall the pyramid is or what's on the inside of the pyramids, that sort of thing. Those would be considered infographics because you're actually you're showing a bit more than just illustrations and photographs, okay? And then of course there's the ones we're all used to, like bar graphs. So like those math kind of graphs, they will sometimes be inside of nonfiction text as well. And that would be another text feature, okay? All right, so.
They always have, like after the end of a sentence, they will have.
We're going to stop there.